Eli Roth is really well known for making these very violent horror movies. But he also made a violent action movie. And then he has one kids movie. That's a very interesting filmography. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Director's Movie Ranking by J. Mare. These are the videos in which I'm actually talking about an entire filmography about one certain director. And in this kind of video I'm gonna rank all his movies, his directed movies, from my least favorite to my favorite. And I just did my review on the movie Thanksgiving, a very excellent slasher film in my opinion, so I thought, why not rank all of Eli Roth's 8 movies from my least favorite to my favorite? Yes, Eli Roth. Eli Roth is a horror director. Well, mostly a horror director. Of his 8 movies he actually made 6 horror movies. And then he has one action movie, which is a remake of a 70s classic. And then he has one family-friendly kids movie. This is a bit of an oddball in his filmography, definitely because his horror movies are extreme violent, torture horror movies. So that's a special case in his filmography. And am I an Eli Roth fan? I started as an Eli Roth fan actually because his first movies were actually very nice movies. I was really fan of those movies. But the movies that he made after his first ones didn't really do anything for me anymore. And actually, they were kind of disappointing in my opinion. But now he came back with another great horror movie, Thanksgiving. Will definitely be high in this ranking list. And he made 8 movies, in which I like half of them. So let's get to it. And at number 8, in my opinion, definitely his weakest movie, and that's The Green Inferno. But it is not entirely Eli Roth's fault, because I am not really a fan of this specific subgenre of horror. And I mean the Amazon cannibal horror movies. I don't like them. They were huge, they were very popular in the 80s, there were a lot of movies back then, for some reason. There must be an audience for it back then, with movies like Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox and others. Saw some of them, didn't like any of them that I saw. They are just not my kind of movies. And Eli Roth definitely inspired The Green Inferno in those movies. I kinda had hopes for it, but it's just the same as all the others. There are very violent movies, nasty violence, but not in the enjoyable kind of way. It's just nasty things for being nasty, and I had absolutely no joy in this movie, and it was one of Eli Roth's disappointments for me. And that's why it's my least favorite. At number 7 we have Knock Knock. And this could easily have been my least favorite because in quality and acting, writing, story, this is a lesser movie than The Green Inferno. But I just don't like The Green Inferno. Knock Knock is a very irritating and frustrating movie as soon as it started, and it didn't get any better. This is basically just Keanu Reeves, and there are 2 girls at his door, and these 2 girls are constantly annoying and irritating him until the end of the movie, and they were even irritating me. So once again, not a movie that I really enjoy watching. And it is actually one of Ana de Armas, her first American role, so that's kinda a saving grace of the movie, but not really. At number 6, we have actually his kids movie, and that's The House with a Clock in Its Wall, with Jack Black. This is a very special movie in his filmography. It's never expected Eli Roth to do a kids movie. But when I saw this movie in the year it came out, I believe 2018, 2019, I thought it was actually an okay kind of fun kids movie. I had a decent enough time watching this movie. The only problem I kind of have with this movie is that it's not a really memorable movie. Like, some weeks after I saw the movie, I forgot most of the things that happened in this movie. And that's not really a good sign for a film. So that's why I cannot really place it any higher than 6. At number 5, we actually have my first disappointment by Eli Roth, and that is Hostel Part 2. It is really weird going from a kids movie to this extreme violent torture film. Because that's what Hostel is. Hostel is torture porn. Like in 2005, the first Hostel came, we already had Saw. It was the start of this subgenre of the torture porn. And I'm a big fan of the first Hostel movie. You're gonna see this one very high in this list. And then the second movie came, and I don't know, didn't have the same feeling, the same vibe I had with the first movie. Everything feels lesser than the first movie. And that's a shame because I really wanted this movie to work as well. The most interesting thing about this movie is the plotline of the two guys. And these two guys are not gonna be abducted and become the victim of this whole organization. No, this focus is on the two guys going to that country to actually become the torturers. So that's very interesting. But we also have our other plotline of the group of survivors, and this time they are not male but female characters. So interesting to do that gender swap in this film. And the two plot lines come nicely together at the end of the film. So it's still a good movie, it's just not as great as the first one. And these 4 movies, the remaining 4, are actually the 4 movies of Roth that I like. And at number 4 we have Death Wish. And it is his remake of the 70s classic with Charles Bronson. I really like Death Wish from 1975, 74, something like that. That was a really great movie about a man who lost his family and goes on the streets with a gun and actually clean the streets as a matter of speech. And Eli Roth took it a bit different story-wise, with Bruce Willis now as the father who wants to have revenge, and he actually, in this movie, he tracks the guys and he kinda tortures them and kills them. It's not the best made movie, definitely not the best remake ever, but I think it was still effective enough. I really enjoyed Death Wish. I've seen it 2 or 3 times now and I'm still liking it, so that's why it's my number 4. And Bruce Willis was actually still good in this movie. I've seen worse movies of Bruce Willis in the same year. At number 3, and these 3 are absolutely Eli Roth's best movies. And at number 3 we have his newest, and it is Thanksgiving. I did a whole review on Thanksgiving. Please check out my review if you want to hear all my thoughts on the movie. But I can say that it is a super awesome slasher film. I really had a good time with this film. Very gory slasher film as well, so definitely recommend it. And at number 2 we have the first Hostel. And Hostel is actually a perfect horror movie. It has a lot of nudity, has a lot of violence, torture scene, extreme torture scene. So not always an easy watch. Some of these torture scenes are pretty hard to watch. Not as hard to watch as the ones in Hostel Part 2. That's a more extreme violent movie than the first one. But I like this group of characters more in Hostel, the first Hostel, with Jaws and Paxton, I believe they are called. But especially the third act of this movie, when one of the characters escapes his torture chamber and he tries to find a way out of the building and the country. That was just an amazing third act. I enjoy it every time when I watch the first Hostel. And this is definitely one of the better torture porn movies out there. But my number one Eli Roth movie is actually his first movie from 2002, and that's Cabin Fever. I admit certain scenes, certain parts of this movie are not really aged that well. Actually, they are aged very poorly. It's not. Some things are a bit dated in this movie. But nonetheless, the premise of this movie is still very effective, very unique. It's about this flesh-eating bacteria, virus, um, um, that finds its way to our group of friends that are spending some time in a cabin in the woods. It is basically a cabin in the woods horror movie, but done differently. We don't have a killer or a beast attacking them. No, it's a flesh-eating virus, and that makes this movie so interesting. And I still remember the first time I saw this movie. I was very impressed by the whole movie, the whole idea of the movie. That yeah, it had an impact on me, and I'm still thinking about Cabin Fever. I consider it heavily in my top 50 horror movies of all time. It's so an effective horror movie. I really love it. So that's why it's my number one. And this is the end of my Eli Roth ranking. I ranked all 8 of his movies. I hope you enjoyed my ranking. Always be free to share your ranking below in the comments. Or just say what is your favorite Eli Roth directed movie. Would love to know that. And if you want to see more rankings of me in the future, always be free to subscribe to my channel. Until the next time.